Okay, good morning, everyone. Adam Cola, I'm one of the plans chiefs with the Alaska team. This is the morning briefing for Wednesday. It's the 18th of August day shift going into Thursday, the 19th of August, 24-hour plan, including day and night shift. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys out at camps watching, please respect the distance from your neighbors and counterparts there, and go ahead and mask up if you could for briefing. We're on the Monument Fire, and the current acreage is 119,364 acres. That's a gain of 22,077 in the last 24 hours. Containment's at 10%, and personnel are at 924. We'll start off with a review of the current situation with Operations Karen Scholl.
Good morning. So last night, we had quite a bit of activity happening down in the southeast side of the fire, down towards Hayfork. So we ended up sending a bunch of our resources, night resources, off Whiskey and Zulu down into that area. Elsewhere on the fire, over on Division Alpha, they were able to bring a little bit more fire, nurse it down, and let it back down off the hill, down near drop point 52 and 59. Easing it in and around the structures. Everything was looking good there when they left this morning, and so that's looking pretty good. Down in X-ray and or down in Zulu, they were able to fire and kind of hold the dozer line that they put in, kind of grabbing that spot fire that they had yesterday. So a little bit ember wash last night around 29 Road and the 44 Road, so that'll need some attention today. But good work happening overnight on the south and west part of our fire. Up in Echo, just to monitor and patrol, really nothing happening up in Echo, Gulf, or Mike. And again, most of the night resources over on the Union side went down to assist down in the Hayfork area. So that's the current situation. We'll talk about the changes for today in a little bit.
All right, and as far as incident objectives, they have been updated, so I will read through them today. We're going to be showing those up on screen as well. You can also follow along inside the front cover of the IAP. Objective number 1, provide for firefighter and public safety by developing and implementing sound strategies and tactics that take into account values at risk, resource availability, and probability of success. Protect businesses, homes, and property in and around the communities of Del Loma, Big Bar, Big Flat, Burnt Ranch, Cedar Flat, Helena, Junction City, Douglas City, Weaverville, Hayfork, and Hyampom, and elsewhere within the planning area. Where possible, take actions to reduce the amount of time that residents must be evacuated from their home. Number 3, protect Highway 299 and Highway 3 corridor infrastructure, PG&E and TPUD electrical infrastructure, communication sites, and other public and private infrastructure within the planning area. Number 4, protect Trinity wild and scenic river values, including anadromous fish habitat. Number 5, protect private and public timber values, including the Progeny Plantation site south of the fire area. 6, protect cultural and historical values near Hayden Flat Campground, Ironside Lookout, and elsewhere in the planning area. Number 7, provide for initial attack air support for new starts within the incident TFR. Coordinate response with the local unit. Number 8, maintain and enhance relationships with agency partners, cooperators, stakeholders, and the public through timely and accurate information exchange. Ensure long-term strategies are communicated. And finally, follow CDC, state, and federal COVID-19 mitigation guidance and protocols to reduce exposure and protect firefighters and public from the virus spread. Next, we'll go to weather.
Good morning, everybody. Zach Tolby, incident meteorologist. This morning we're seeing winds out of the northeast. This is a new wind direction that we have not experienced since this fire started. Winds currently are 4 to 8 miles an hour out of the northeast around the Weaverville or the Glennison Gap area and the Hayfork Lookout. Humidities did get pretty low last night at those upper elevations, around 25%. They have come up to around 40% currently. We're expecting ridgetop winds to pick up out of the northeast today with gusts to around 20 miles an hour. Like I said, we haven't experienced this wind direction before. Upper level winds are going to waver between east and north during the day today, but we'll generally see a northeast flow over the higher terrain. At the upper levels, above about 15,000 feet or so, we're going to see some pretty strong northerly winds. So if we do get a plume above about 15,000 feet, you can expect some northerly influence on that. With this air moving in from the north and east, we're going to see much drier conditions than we've seen for a while. We've kind of been expecting those conditions yesterday, but they're definitely coming today. We're going to see humidities drop down to around as low as 10% today, so it's going to be very, very dry. There is a red flag warning in effect for the region. The main takeaways are that the winds are not going to be quite as strong as we saw yesterday, but they are coming from a new direction, so that's very important to understand. And it's going to be much, much drier than we have seen the last few days. Also expect very poor recoveries to continue overnight tonight, with humidity recoveries in the 20s and 30s at the higher elevations and maybe only around 40 in the lower elevations. Have a safe shift.
Good morning, Jeff Shelton with your fire behavior. This morning, your fire environment's going to be dry and warm and windy. The implications of that are fairly obvious to anybody in the business, but the main takeaway is going to be that new direction. As the fire gets pushed in to the south and to the west, we saw a little taste of that yesterday when we had that activity on the east side, put up a plume, and the transport winds were already out of the north, and it started kind of steering the fire downhill towards Hayfork. We're going to have a similar experience today as the fire wants to move that direction. So in general, the fire remains fuels driven, but very ventilation dependent. The wild card that we have in the whole scenario is the fact that with these northeast winds, we're going to be pulling in smoke from the river fire. This fire has been really dependent on having that visibility. We've been messaging and we continue to message that if you can breathe better, so can the fire. So if you can see across the whatever area that you're in and you can see the other side of the draw there, that's a clear indication that the fire is getting that breath that it needs to take off. So what I'm expecting in a general sense is very active surface fire 24/7, especially with this drier air that's coming in. It'll wash out that good or fair humidity recovery we had early, and it'll stay late. Typically with the smoke cap on here, we've had a late start to the burn period. 5 o'clock, right at the dinner hour, the fire gets hungry too and it starts wanting to chew. With the drier air coming in early, we could have that earlier, more traditional start to the burn period, probably looking in the middle of the afternoon. But if we get a lot of smoke on it, it's gonna want to push it back again. So it's going to be your responsibility to watch the atmosphere, be your own F-band and IMET out there, evaluate your scenario, and give yourself plenty of margin. The main areas of concern with this wind direction will be the new firing. Anywhere there was new energy added to the environment in the last 48 hours, which would be here on Alpha, where they are locking that in, and then all the new burning that happened yesterday going towards Hayfork. There is a change in fuel as this transitions out of the higher terrain and gets down here to Hayfork. It becomes more grassy before it gets to the main area. So with this column that's going to come out and the high probabilities of ignition, 80–90%, you can expect spotting down in here where our CAL FIRE colleagues are going to be gainfully employed. It's better terrain. It's more open for dozer work and picking up those spots, but you can expect that fallout from that area. From a safety standpoint with fire behavior, the trees, we have 2 different generations of snaggings in here, mostly from the 2008 lightning bust that happened in here. You had a lot of standing dead, and now you have fire on that standing dead and the stuff that was alive. They have been wind tested from, or wind loaded from the west and northwest over and over again, but we haven't seen since we've been here a wind test on those from the northeast. So they're going to get a different load on them. The tree that you walked by yesterday that was totally fine, now it has a northeast component on it, may not be. So please do a good risk assessment from a fire behavior standpoint out there. If you have any questions and if you see something different, I'm going to be handing off the reins to Brad Washoe from the Alaska team, and he will get your fine-tune your forecast and get it dialed in. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Karen Scholl again with today's assignment. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on explaining what happened yesterday afternoon and the division of the fire, and kind of going through the IAP a little bit because there are some major changes. So you'll notice on the briefing map that we have a line coming through from the southwest to the northeast. This is the chunk that to the southeast of this is the chunk that CAL FIRE Team 5 will be taking over this morning. So all those resources that were in Whiskey and were also in X-ray, most of them have been reallocated. You'll find yourself either in a new division, in another division. A lot of them are in Zulu. Some went to Echo, some went to Alpha, and then a lot of resources right now are on unassigned in a 204 called unassigned. Doesn't mean you're going to be sitting all day. We just couldn't divvy everybody up last night. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow roll out this morning as we kind of work through those, getting folks assigned. So with that, on our fire, so we're called the North Zone, and the CAL FIRE Team 5 has the South Zone. Within our North Zone, we have 3 branches. Branch 1 remains the same. Branch 10 remains the same. And branch 40 has been added. In branch 10, we have Alpha, Division Alpha, and Division Alpha leadership remains the same with Gordon Meyer and Garrett Dunn. We've added a river group, so essentially the old Division Echo, all you and your resources are now the River Group West under Robert Clater. So your main responsibility is what you've been doing is patrolling and ensuring no structure losses along the corridor. Up in Echo, we have Brian Ty as the new leadership, and he has no resources currently, or very few. Division Gulf and Division Mike remain unstaffed. And Branch 1, let me back up a second. Branch 1 is Brandon Peterson and Isaiah Fisher as the trainee. As we go over into Branch 10, we have Clinton Northway is the branch director out there, and Division Uniform is Jamie Mayer and Jacob Bailey. Their main responsibility remains East Fork of the North Fork and Clear Canyon Creek subdivision up there, and then you'll be abutting what will now be the Delta division to the south of the 299. Okay, so then we've got the CAL FIRE area. I won't get into what they're doing right now. And then over on our southwest part of the fire is Branch 40. Branch 40 is Jake Livingston and Chris Winogle. And Zulu is the only division in Branch 40 currently, and that remains Matt Radke. For our night operations will be Togi Wheel and Trent Gerard, and we'll talk about the divisions on tonight's briefing. We won't get into that now. So quite a few changes, but mostly affecting X-ray and whiskey and their resources. So for today's assignments, starting in Division Alpha, the big focus is going to be around 52, 59, monitoring this and ensuring that it stays within the perimeters that we want it to, and close it up if able, given the current conditions and the expected weather and forecast. Just trying to keep that fire to a minimum. We did have some ember washout in that area in a few spots, so I think you'll be chasing some things out there today. River corridor, going to remain vigilant within the corridor there from Big Bar west out to Burnt Ranch, ensuring everything stays where we want it to stay. Division Echo will continue to scout and develop a plan for the fire coming off Ironside Mountain, looking for opportunities to put in some dozer line and try and hold this fire where it's at, south of the New River and east of the Trinity River, and then looking beyond for other opportunities. Gulf and Mike remain unstaffed and over in Division Union uniform. We've got about a 50-acre spot fire that crossed over the North Fork of the Trinity. Going to look for opportunities, see what we can do with that out there, and then continue to monitor the fire and be able to react if we should get any kind of push in any direction there. Uniform will also be assisting with the Delta division from CAL FIRE 5 if they need any assistance. And then moving around to Branch 40. Branch 40's got Zulu. Zulu's got some work to do today, finishing up and continuing to push their dozer lines. We deal with the spot fires from yesterday. There's some ember wash from some of the activity, and they might be chasing some fire given today's weather forecast. So everyone stay vigilant out there. It's kind of a little bit of a slow roll this morning, even though we do have some winds out there. Make sure we have really good accountability, unassigned resources. Be patient while we work through who needs you and where. Some of those unassigned resources will maybe traveling from Weaverville and getting reassigned out to the further west divisions. But it's going to take a little bit of time, so a little patience there is going to go a long way. And then today, as you're out there on the fire line, like Jeff said in his F-band message, man, the fire can go in lots of different directions, but today it looks like the west side and the south side will be the areas of concern. All right, you're going to get your individual assignments from your divisions after the breakout. You guys have a safe shift.
Good morning, Mike McGuire, Air Operations. Thank you. Today is transition day, plus we're adding the new zone to the south, dividing the fire into the north and south zone. So just be aware of that. We've got at Willow Creek Helibase, we have 3 Type 1 helicopters and 2 Type 2 helicopters, and we have 1 Type 3 helicopter at Redding. It came in last night, be briefed today and put in the mix. Our team air attack arrived last evening. We'll be briefing them this morning and putting them available on our fire. We did request and received a new TFR for the area. We expanded the TFR to the east and to the south to encompass the new area, south zone there. It's got the same frequency and the same ceiling as the past. All we did was expand its footprint. Order any of your aircraft needs through Air Attack if they're up. If they're not, go through Helibase. The CAL FIRE Team 5 has a Type 3 helicopter that is at Sky Ranch over just west of I-5 south of Anderson. All aircraft on the incident will be shared between the two zones as needed. Priorities determined by operations. And a reminder, the Highway 299 corridor that runs through the fire is littered with wires across the corridor, both the river and the highway. So be aware of that. And visibility will still be our limiting factor, controlling where and when we can fly.
Greg Loquist, COMMEL trainee. Division Alpha and Division Echo will continue to have limited comms requiring human repeaters. A repeater installation mission will be taking place today to restore service from Ironside Lookout. An announcement will be made once the repeater is operational. Until the replacement, remember to check your comms before you engage. In addition, there is an error on the 205 Monument Fire Incident channels. Channel 14 IA command, the transmit frequency should read 165.0125. The frequency is correct in your radio. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Tom Greeling, safety trainee, Alaska team. Real critical day today with the transition that has taken place. And today we want to emphasize that everybody is very clear on their work location and their assignment, and that they have good communications with their supervisors and with each other, and that the supervisors have good accountability for all their assigned resources. And for everybody, that we plug in LCES really well today. Thank you and have a safe day.
Morning, Meredith Lund Medical. I want to draw your attention to the IAP. On the front cover, you'll notice some changes, as you always do whenever there's a new team coming in. The change I really want you to notice is at the bottom. We have what's called the COVID hotline. And what we ask is if you're not feeling well, symptoms of respiratory issues, sore throats, things like that, if you call that phone number, we will kind of guide you through the process. We have 2 fantastic medical units, 1 in each camp. They are very highly trained in recognizing both COVID and Camp Crud and anything else. So if you call this number, we'll kind of get you back on your feet. The other side I want to call you to is the back page, which has not changed, which is always a good thing every fire you go to, medical incident report. How many of you just zoned out and said, yeah, I got this. It's always the same. Is it always going to be the same? Can you say, I got this, when it's your buddy laying under a tree after a tree strike? Review this today. At the end of the day, take the front page, take the back page, tear them off, hand them to one of your crew members that does not get an IEP so he can put them in his pocket and use them tomorrow. Stay safe and have a great day.
Good morning, Luann Grover, Finance with the Alaska team. There's a lot for everyone to remember today, so I'm going to make it really easy for you. If in the IAP you are working on a division that only has one letter, like Division A, Division W, Division Z, please put North Zone on your shift tickets and equipment time record. We'll have more to tell you tomorrow when you're not so overloaded with information, so have a safe day. Thank you.
Tim Derby, Logistics. Building on the logistics that Team 5 set up for us, we're going to continue to make improvements at both camps. We have logs leaderships at both camps at
Willow Creek, we have John Cott, Logistics Chief, and at Weaverville, we have Alyssa Johnson. Go to them and they'll help you with any of your needs. Thank you.
Good morning, Erica Lamb, Resource Advisor Coordinator for the Alaska team. I just want to go over the 3 types of flagging that resource advisors are using. There's red and black candy stripe for archaeological sites, orange flagging that says noxious weeds, and white flagging with orange polka dots, and those are all places we want to stay out of. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Todd Buchholz, Human Resources. We'll be occupying the trailer out at Weaverville. For those of you who have postcards, you want them posted, please just put them in the trailer there someplace. I have stamps for you, so don't worry about that. I'll be out at that camp hopefully this afternoon and remain there until we're gone. So have a great shift, be nice to each other, and thank you.
All right, and good morning again, Adam from Plans. I want to draw everyone's attention to the QR code on the front of the IAP. This will be, I believe, the only QR code you'll see in our IAP. That QR code does lead to a directory page. On that page, you'll find links to the IAP. You'll find links to the check-in form. That's going to be a virtual check-in form. We are using the national virtual check-in process, so please go ahead and check in there. You can start using that this morning. You'll also find a link to the briefings, this morning's briefing and the night briefing at 1900 this evening. You'll find a finance email address to send your CTRs to. There'll be a folder to the map products on the FTP site, along with a folder with some useful forms in there, including a digital CTR. Lastly, and just as important as everything else here, as we begin to move resources off the fire beginning in the next few days as you reach the end of your tour, there is a instruction sheet there along with a demo form. So please go ahead and check that out. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Adam. All right, morning, everybody. My name is Norm McDonald, and I'm commander with the Alaska team. First of all, I want to thank Cal Team 5 we did about a 36-hour transition in shadow. They set us up really nicely the last shift. But with that, it's a big day. We've talked about this a couple times, transition day, not only with the Alaska team coming in and Cal 5 leaving, but we're breaking into the zones, the north and the south. So south of us, we have California CDF or Cal Fire Team 5. That won't be confusing at all with the 2 Team 5s coming and going. But with that, there's a lot of changes. So a message for today is make sure you have clear direction, clear communications, and a real clear understanding of who you're working for. We mentioned accountability. A lot of opportunities with the changes for folks to be working for new people and new faces. So make sure we know who we're working for, and if you're a supervisor out there, who's underneath you, who you're accountable for, who's your responsibility for this shift. I will say, I worked with Mike last year from Cal Team 5. We've worked well together. This is going to be a zone fire, but we're looking at this as one fire, 2 teams. So there will be a lot of sharing of resources, everything from the logistics support to the initial attack to operational. So for this incident, be very aware of both what's happening in both zones, the commo, the leadership, the daily plan, because where you are today may change tomorrow based on priorities. As you know, California, the whole West Coast is short of resources. So our mission while we're here for both teams, firefighter and public safety, and that means sharing the resources we have here. Just be prepared for that today and throughout the rest of this incident. So we look forward to working with you. Appreciate the work you've done, and we'll have a good safe shift today. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, that'll conclude the morning briefing for this morning for the Monument Fire Wednesday, August 18th. Division breakouts will happen right after the briefing in that briefing area with the division supervisors. There should be branch directors around there as well. If you're unassigned, you're not finding yourself in the IAP, you don't know where you're working, please time with one of those branch directors out at those breakouts. You'll also have a local briefing immediately following this broadcast with any local logistics information or operations information there. If you turn your radios and cell phones off for the briefing, I thank you very much for doing that, but don't forget to turn them back on before you leave this room and you leave your briefing area. Lastly, just to reemphasize, organization and leadership change today. Know who you're working for. Get an IAP today. Take a look at it. Have a great, safe shift. Take care of your brothers and sisters.